we observe today a celebration of freedom.
The day America sets aside to honor millions of our finest heroes. They are the men and women who defend our country and preserve our peace and freedom. Each time our nation has called upon our citizens to serve, the best have come forward. Where do we get such brave young Americans? We can and should take the opportunity on this Veterans Day to remember their gift to us. Veterans know better than anyone else the price of freedom, for they've suffered the scars of war. All those who have served in America's uniform deserve the nation's thanks. Words could never express what the patriotism of generation after generation of American heroes means for the very soul of our nation. Because of you, America's best days are still to come. And with faith, freedom, and courage, there's no limit to what America can and will accomplish.
The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service around the globe. They called to bear the burden, a struggle against the common enemies of man. United, there is little we cannot do. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
Throughout our history, America's men in uniform have always been ready when the cause of freedom called, and they've never let us down. Our most recent heroes, those still serving, carried on with the same dedication and valor as their colleagues before them. If we remember that their dedicated service is in defense of our freedom, and if we understand that they put their lives on the line so we might enjoy justice and liberty, then their sacrifices will not be in vain. This is our obligation, and this has been the spirit of Veterans Day from the beginning.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Forest City Regional's Veterans Day program. I am Elijah Ferreira. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Forest City senior Matthew Reed, followed by the national anthem sung by the Forest City High School Chorus. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
POW MIA empty chair.
You may be seated. The Forest City High School Band, under the direction of Mr. John Scavone, will now perform Beautiful Savior, composed by James Swearingen. Thank you, Mr. Scavone. This year, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Alexander Chelik. He is the mayor of Mayfield and has served as mayor for almost 40 years. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Education and a Master of Arts in History from the University of Scranton. He served 4 years active duty in the United States Army Security Agency. Mr. Chelik is a retired teacher and high school principal of Lakeland High School. He serves on the board of directors of the Lackawanna River Basin Sewer Authority and the Lackawanna County Land Bank, is a vice president of the Pennsylvania State Mayors Association, and has been a member of the Mayfield American Legion Post for 610 for 51 years. He and his wife Rosalie Rosalie have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. Mr. Chelik.
First of all, let me thank Forest City for allowing me to address the veterans and the student body and faculty and administration of Forest City. Mrs. Vigil is the one responsible for my being here. So if this doesn't go well, don't blame me. She came to me and asked me to be the guest speaker, and you know, I said, well, what's the situation? She said, well, it'll be about 25 veterans, about 750 students, the faculty. And I said, whoa, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. And she said, oh, of course you can. Oh, we got a glitch. There we go. Okay. She said, you could do it because you're such a model personality. And I said, okay, you know, I might want to be able to do this. But then I looked up in the dictionary, because this was my Google, the word model. It was a small copy. So I began having a little trepidation about being here today. And I called her up and she said, oh, don't worry, you're going to be great because you have such a warm personality. And I looked up the warm, not so hot. So right away, I was wondering, what could I possibly tell? I mean, an 80-year-old veteran, what could he possibly have to tell the young students here at Forest City? Because the world right now is in such turmoil, so many different problems facing the world, that you guys are going to have to make decisions. For example, how do we fight evil in the world? Do we turn to Marvel Comics or DC Comics? Do we turn to Hawkeye, Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, Black Widow, Thor from the Avengers? Or do we go to the Justice League? The Flash, Superman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman. Where do we go? And then, of course, the damage of social media. Oh, this is a big one. We have a new kid on the block, Threads. When it was first introduced not long ago, there was 100 million users within 5 days. So now you've got a choice to make. Is it going to be Threads or Twitter? What is going to be your choice? But hold on. Enter Elon Musk. Oh, he has changed Twitter to X. What does that mean? He destroyed the tweets of Twitter. And now your choice is Threads or X. And you know what I think this is going to lead to? A brand new Netflix series called The Walking Thread. Oh, look what you got to look forward to. And then, if that's not bad enough, science versus fiction. I mean, who's going to win the Academy Award? Universal Studios or Warner Brothers in the person of Barbie or Oppenheimer? Who won 4 cities? Barbie versus Oppenheimer. Because you have a choice. The fantasy world of the blonde bombshell or the atomic era of Oppenheimer, the atomic bomb. And then again, what possibly could I tell you when I was raised in the 1950s? Gas was 23 cents a gallon. The average salary was $3,500. And, of course, the New York Yankees were winning World Series at the time. The NBA champs for 4 years was the Minneapolis Lakers. They didn't move to Los Angeles. So what in this era could I possibly share with you? Especially the music. I grew up with rock and roll. That's when you could actually understand the words, and they had meaning. And I brought along 2 songs to show you how meaningful. I'm not going to sing, don't worry. No, the chorus, don't worry. But this was a song by Barry Mann, right? Who put the bump in the bump, a bump, a bump? Who put the ram in the ram, a ding dong? Who put the bop in the bop, shabop, shabop? Who put the dit in the dit, 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 dit? Who was that man? Wow, what a message. Or, this is my favorite by a group called, a nice sounding group, the Silhouettes. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na. Ip, 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 bum, 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 bum. Get a job. Wow, what a message. This was my Google, Britannica, the Encyclopedia Britannica. This was my original computer. I could print and delete with it. This was texting in the 50s. Now what we used to do is we used to roll up the papers into these little triangles, and somebody would hold their thumbs up and you try to knock it through for a field goal. Some of us noticed the little girl with the pigtails across the aisle, and we start rolling up those things and flicking them over so that we could get her a message about what she's doing later on. Now, that was our texting. We didn't have selfies. And music wasn't in the cloud. You actually had to go to a store and buy 45 RPMs or 33s, vinyl records. And of course, everything you see in this picture, you have it in one thing that's in your pocket. So times have changed. So what could I possibly... the Beatles, my favorite group. Abbey Road. Today, it's Appy Road. A memory was something that you lost when you became 80 years old. An application, you filled out for a job. A cursor was somebody who used foul language. A web was a spider's home. A virus was the flu. A hard drive was a long journey in a car. Pot was something you cooked in. Coke was a soft drink. And good grass, you're talking about your neighbor's yard. This was Barbie. By the way, Barbie came from Germany. She was an immigrant, but she was a housewife. And the teenage girls at my time wore poodle skirts and saddle shoes. And they actually had a guide for how to be a good housewife because a woman's place was in the home. We actually had homemakers in training where girls were taught to be homemakers, just like their moms. That led to Desperate Housewives. So these are some of the things my mom taught me, which was going to help me throughout my life. Religion. You better pray that will come out of the carpet. Logic, because I said so, that's why. Irony, keep crying and I'll give you something to cry about. Stamina, you'll sit there until all that spinach is gone. And roots, shut the door behind you. Do you think you were born in a barn? More logic. If you fall off that swing and break your neck, you're not going to the store with me. Boy. Hypocrisy. If I told you once, I've told you a million times, don't exaggerate. Time travel. If you don't straighten up, I'm going to knock you into the middle of next week. And osmosis, for you science people, shut your mouth and eat your supper. Anticipation. Just wait until your father gets home. But one thing my mom did for me is when the 4th grade, she started me on the trumpet. And in the 5th grade, the Legionnaires used to come to get 2 of us so that we could attend the military funerals and play taps for the fallen veterans. And, of course, I was in the high school band until I graduated from high school. And then when I graduated, I became a member of Troop 87. Our troop was much bigger than this, but this is my first oath of office. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and this country. Boy, I thought that was quite heavy. And to obey the Scout law and to help other people at all times. Scout law. Scout motto was be prepared, so let's hope I am for today. And the Scout slogan is do a good turn daily. By the way, this is my good turn for today. And of course, I wanted to become an Eagle Scout, so I had to learn merit badges since I played the trumpet. We went to Camp St. Andrew, which is in the Tunkhannock area. I took my trumpet, and I got the music merit badge and the bugle merit badge, and he asked me to stay as the camp bugler, and I spent 3 years at Camp St. Andrew. I lived in a tent, 4-man tent. We had sort of uniforms like the Army, and in the morning I'd have to get up and play reveille to wake up the Scouts in the Grove, and at night taps to put them to bed. And one thing the Boy Scouts have shown me is that if you want to advance, there's a path and there's things that you have to do. There's requirements. It doesn't come free. The 3 merit badges I was most proud of was citizenship in the home, citizenship in the community, and citizenship in our nation. And of course, I did get my Eagle Scout badge. And what could I possibly tell people? Well, never underestimate an old man with scouting skills. So, believe it or not, out of high school, my principal talked my parents into borrowing money and to sending me to the University of Scranton. And if you'll notice, that's where I went to school, in Army barracks, abandoned Army barracks. That was my classrooms. None of the buildings down at Scranton were built yet. It was not co-ed, and we had to wear a coat and tie. And the other thing we had to do, we had to spend 2 years in the Recruit Officer Training Corps, the Army ROTC. Twice a week for 2 years, we had to take classes in military science, and we had to wear a uniform every Tuesday, and you learned how to march, the drills. Except my trumpet got me in the Army band, in the ROTC band. So I spent 2 years in the University of Scranton ROTC band. And of course, when I graduated, 64, I had 16 credits in theology. That's religion, because this was a Catholic school. Every semester we had to take 2 credits. I also had 8 credits in military science, which was going to come very important to me later on. and of course 24 credits in philosophy. And two things I took away from the university, and this is not religion. Do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. That's what the Jesuits taught us. And I didn't consider it religion, I considered it humanity. You know, treating others as you would want them to treat you. And the other thing I learned was logic from those philosophy classes. How to think through problems, getting both sides, gathering information. And that was going to be very helpful to me in my military career. And this is my diploma. I had 2 years of Latin in high school. It's written in Latin. To this day, even though I graduated with honors, cum laude, I cannot read that diploma because it's in Latin. Well, I got my draft notice shortly after graduation, and I looked around at the military programs, and I remembered what my favorite president did at the time, John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. So what I did is, I looked around, I remembered, do my duty to God and my country, and I found a language program and joined for 4 years. And I took my military oath. I do solemnly swear on my honor, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will uphold the Scout Law. So off I go as Private Alexander J. Chulik, Fort Dix, New Jersey, for my basic training. And I'll tell you what, I didn't know what to expect, but as soon as I saw the barracks, I said, I'm back at the University of Scranton, because I went to barracks there, but so everybody's happy, right? And then all of a sudden reality hit. Basic training at Fort Dix. No privacy, no closet space, daily inspections. And we had bunk beds. So I began to have a little bit of trepidation about what I did. And then, of course, enter, and the veterans will appreciate this, the drill sergeant. You'll notice the spittle coming off his mouth. The drill sergeant was, he was trained to get people in line. And boy, he would stand up, he would come right up to your face. This is what it felt like when he was coming after you. And he would tell you faculty, administration, don't worry, I cleaned this up. This is about the cleanest language the drill sergeants would use. You make me believe in reincarnation because nobody could possibly be as stupid in one life as you are. And of course, this was our impression of the drill sergeant. The Tyrannosaurus Rex coming right at you. But I remembered, to get me through this, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and its country. So I went ahead and I listened to those drill sergeants. First thing they did is to show that we were all equal. We were from all parts of the East Coast, inner city blacks, Puerto Ricans, Latinos, the people from the hills of West Virginia, all kinds of economic strata. We were all treated equal because we all got our heads shaved and we all got our shots without any qualms. And you see it being administered by a shotgun, not the shotgun you used to kill grouse. And of course, we had hand-to-hand combat with the bayonets, gas attack training. Well, our training was on the M14, and we were constantly on the firing range, shooting at pop-up targets. I was glad that I made sharpshooter. Of course, when I was a young boy, we had a dump in Mayfield, and we used to tape a flashlight to our 22s and go down and shoot the rats at the dump. So but then the obstacle course. The first time I went through there, I was like a snail. You can't believe what that drill sergeant said to me at the end of that obstacle course. But by the time I was finished, I could slither through there like a snake going after his dinner. And of course, those drill sergeants, no matter who we were, they went ahead and they trained us to act as a unit. When we graduated from basic training, we were a unit that was ready for further training in combat. And this is what I took out of the boot camp. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I studied that in college, but now from the experiences I had, it meant a lot more to me. And we were treated as equals no matter where we were from. The other thing I took away was we had to work together. The preamble to our Constitution gave me new meaning, even though I studied it in college. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, it had to be we the people. To help other people at all times. My scouting skills were still prevalent. I was as happy to leave basic training as Taylor Swift was at a Kansas City football game. And then naturally I was happy because I was going to California, the United States Army, Presidio of Monterey, home of the Defense Language Institute. There I am. Now I'm a PFC, which is a corporal. I'm at the Monterey Bay. This is the uniform that I would wear 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, studying the Russian language. There, hey, deja vu. There's my barracks all over again, and that's the uniform I wore when I wasn't in class. It was like Groundhog Day with all these barracks that I'm going to, but this is my first textbook in Russian. Our insignia was red and blue, denoting peacetime and wartime missions that we were being prepared for. And of course, my instructors were all immigrants from Russia. They fled after World War II when the Soviet Union put down the hammer on any kind of democratic government because it was a totalitarian government, and they persecuted people. The first people they go after are the free press, and of course the college professors and the teachers. So these Russian professors that I had were all immigrants. They had become United States citizens, and they are extremely grateful for what the United States was able to give them. This is my, our barracks was divided into two-man cubicles. And my roommate was an Air Force gentleman, and he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Book of Mormon. So I got to know a little bit about a different religion. And you see I have two lockers, a desk, and here I am. You can't see the, right here there is a tape recorder that I'm listening to the lessons of the day and doing my homework for the rest of the lessons. And this is a little bit of what I had to learn. The Russian language is the Cyrillic alphabet. You could see it's much different than the alphabet we have. And if I could just give you an example, Vy говорите по-русски means do you speak Russian? Очень хорошо is very good. Почему is why. Добрый вечер is goodbye. Добрый день is good day. До свидания. Спасибо is thank you, and большое спасибо is thank you very much. Now, we wanted to visit San Francisco. I was only a PFC making $82 a month. So we needed some extra money. One of the gentlemen was from California that was in our barracks, and he had access to a car. So we decided to drive out to the Salinas Valley and to go pick strawberries to make some extra money. And the people that we worked with were the migrant farm workers. And talk about a back-breaking job. They gave you this cart, this with little containers in it. You filled the containers and you took them over, you got it weighed. And depending upon how much you picked for that day, That's how much you got paid. We were able to make enough money to go up to San Francisco, which we lost very quickly. But I came to respect the migrant workers, very hard workers. And on the weekends, when their kids weren't in school, their kids joined them. And they were very appreciative of the chance to earn some money here in the United States. And, they were doing work that other people wouldn't do. So after 22 weeks of a language course, 22 books, 9 months, I finally received my diploma. And I was promoted to specialist 4th class, which was corporal. What I got out of my experience there, aside from the language skills, was a new meaning of the Statue of Liberty because of the Russian immigrants and the migrant workers that I came into contact with. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Now, this Father's Day, we had a little cookout at my house, and my son brought his boxer, Sadie. My daughter has 2 standard poodles, Jax and Jet. The neighbors brought a Springer Spaniel named Benny, and of course, one of the neighbors brought Charlie, sort of a Newfoundland poodle mix. Amazing how these dogs got together. Different breeds, different ages. I'm always wondering, why can't people sometimes be like the dogs, The beauty of the world lies in its diversity. So, after leaving California, I got shipped back to Van Hill Farms, Virginia, and we learned what was going to be our role in the service. The Army Security Agency. Our patch, the gold border, symbolized power and strength. The blue represented the sky where radio waves traveled, or any kind of communications. The talon of the griffin, which was a composite creature with a lion's body and an eagle's head. And the griffin's talon is grasping flashes, which represents the worldwide communications. And the ASA's mission is the interception of those communications from our enemies. That was going to be my job. And that was necessary because after World War II, an iron curtain split Europe into the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. And of course, the Eastern Bloc, they represented repressive governments, totalitarian governments, autocracies, whereas the Westerns were your fledgling democracies. And that was our job, was to get as much information as we can from the countries behind the Iron Curtain. Because it was a time of, nuclear missiles. We almost had a nuclear catastrophe at the Cuban Missile Crisis between John F. Kennedy and the Soviet Union's Nikita Khrushchev. When I was in elementary school, we even had air raid drills where the students were required to get under their desk, put their hands over their heads in case of a nuclear attack. So it was atomic weapons and missiles that we were worried about. And our job was to become a security operative and intercept those communications. We were taught how to use the equipment to intercept the communications of our enemies, and once we taped it, to sit down and transcribe it into some type of a written report for somebody to look at. And we were also taught the importance of keeping what we were doing secret. Confidential, secret, top secret classifications. Ours was one above that, top secret crypto. And that was the special intelligence of cryptography that we were assigned. And we were told, you don't even speak about what you're doing to your fellow worker unless you're in the secure compound. We were taught that any breach of the security could be harmful to our mission of collecting intelligence on our foreign enemies, especially those operatives that lived in the countries that we were against, such as Poland and Russia, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, because if you made a mistake, you're liable to identify them to our enemies, and they would be eliminated. And of course, my first assignment was to go to Turkey. And if you look at Turkey on this map, you'll see that there's Russia. Turkey borders the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, so it is a critical country to be an ally with us. And where did I go? Well, in Sinop, right on the tip of the Black Sea, right across from Russia. And our mission was to intercept the communications of the Russian missile systems that was in that area. We landed in Ankara, and of course I did get to visit, after about 6 months in Turkey, Istanbul. This is my picture of when we arrived in Ankara, of the downtown square, and that's the statue of the father of modern Turkey, Ataturk, and you could see what the Turkish flag looked like, crescent and the star. Ataturk, this is his tomb. What he tried to do is modernize Turkey, and he tried to make some reforms that would make Turkey more like the United States of America. And the first thing he did was he got rid of the Arabic script, and he turned back to a mix of Cyrillic alphabet and the Latin alphabet that we use. If you look at what I have up here, let me go back. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. This is how it would look in Arabic, and this is how it would look in Turkish. And of course, he banned the fez. The fez was a remnant that everybody wore, all the men, of the Ottoman Empire, which was a totalitarian government, which the father of modern Turkey overthrew and tried to make Turkey a democracy. But funny enough, instead of the fez, most of them were wearing this type of hat called a sixpence. It's basically what the golfers used to wear in the 1950s. And of course, he banned the chador, or the uniform that the women had to wear, the full-length clothes. When I was visiting Istanbul, this is a slide of the castle that was built by the Ottomans, the Ottoman Empire. That was run by a sultan. And naturally, to get from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, you had to go through the Bosphorus, which was a straight body of water. So that's why Turkey is so important. This is the slide I took. I'm very proud of this slide because we were taking slides at the time. And I had to turn this when I retired from administration. I turned this into a DVD, and would you know it, the technology advanced where I had to make a digital copy. So I'm pretty proud of the copy. And of course, this is not artificial intelligence. That's me in that fortress. Now, Turkey is an Islamic country. They believe in Islam. They're called Muslims for the most part. And this is their blue mosque. You'll notice the minarets. 5 times a day, somebody climbs the minarets and calls out the time for prayer. Because Turkey is an Islamic country. And these are the 5 pillars. The Shahada is a belief in one God. The Salah, the prayers 5 times a day. The Zakat was the giving of alms or charity to other people, to help people at all times. The Hajj was the pilgrimage they had to make to Mecca, the house of Allah. And of course, fasting in the month of Ramadan from sunrise to sunset. And this is something I found extremely interesting, a saying of their prophet Muhammad. None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. Do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. What I learned at the University of Scranton. Same concept. I found the Muslim people to be very friendly. They were very religious, a religion totally different than mine. And this was the Hagia Sophia. It was at one time a church. It was built under the Byzantine Empire. It was in the city of Constantinople, but when the Turks took over in 1453, they turned it into a mosque. And this is where I was stationed, right on top of the hill overlooking the town of Sinop on the Black Sea. There's a picture of me. I was there for 11 months, 11 days. It was considered a hardship tour because no families were allowed. And at the time, there weren't many women in the military, so there were also no women there. So there I am again. It's not artificial intelligence. This is the entrance to our base. Paved road. I want you to notice that for the time being. And naturally, since we were there at the hospitality of the Turks, the Turkish soldiers were the ones that guarded our perimeter. There's our headquarters with the American flag and the Turkish flag. And there's another shot, and there's our crest. Diogenes was born in Turkey. He was a Greek philosopher. He used to go around with the lantern in the daytime searching for an honest man. And our mission was to search for the truth and, of course, to keep it silent. This is our barracks, getting more modern. I actually had a closet and a locker space up above. There I am at my desk. This is what I wore every day to work. We used to work 6 days, have 3 days off, 6 wing shifts, 3 days off, 6 midnights, 3 days off, and that's our compound. That's where we had all our equipment so that we could intercept the intelligence, what we were able to get from the Russians across the Black Sea. Now, the Army took care of us. We were on a hardship tour. They had a movie theater for us. We used to get 2 or 3 current movies every week. They also provided a baseball, softball fields, tennis courts. They had flag football teams, and this was our gymnasium for basketball. I was on the basketball team, and this is a picture I did not take. If I took it, it would have been much better. But we had an NCO club where they had food and beverages. Entertainment was brought in, all kinds of entertainment for the troops. This is the downtown. You could see our post up on the hill. This is a hotel that was just built. This is another street of the downtown, and that's the street that leads up to their government building. And this is how they were doing their logging. They were taking the logs by rowboat out to the ship, because even though they wanted to be like the United States, they were rather behind the times, so to speak. And once you got out from the outskirts of the city, this is what you saw. Poverty, dire poverty. This is the downtown area where there's a lot of shops. I was able to buy a handmade boat there, and of course a serving table with some goblets. We went downtown quite often to eat. Their shish kebab was one of the best in the world. We're told not to fraternize with the women, because even though they banned the chador, they still wore clothing that covered most of them. And if you look, they were never allowed out without being accompanied by a relative of them. We took a trip, the voyage of Mr. Chelik. We took a trip to the outskirts. We wanted to do a little photography. This is a village. As soon as we came into sight, everybody in the village disappeared. And when we finally got there, this is the house of their leader, the village of Bey Chelik. His name was Mr. Chelik, same as mine. Huh. Talk about a coincidence. We were invited in. You had to take your shoes off because they considered shoes to be dirty. And it was, of course, a sign of respect for their home. When we got in there, we sat around in a circle. There was no furniture. We saw no women. They were in the other room preparing the tea, and the tea and some kind of bread was served to us by the men. And when I was leaving Turkey, before I left, I did get to sit on a Turkish destroyer. We became friendly with some of the Turkish sailors, and I was promoted to E5, Specialist 5th Class, which was the rank of sergeant. And of course, we were going to leave Turkey. This is the people I spent 2 years with in the service. Very dedicated people in their job. They were from all over the United States. From Detroit, Michigan was a Latino, Garcia. We were from Ohio, New York City, Oklahoma, Georgia, Virginia, Florida, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. From New Mexico, we even had somebody who was half Navajo, and New Jersey. And what did I learn? There is no I in team, but there is in win. And we were successful because we did our job together, we the people. One thing I came to very well understand is the freedom of religion. That's our First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And I say that because although I found the people of the Islamic faith to be very devout people, very friendly, I didn't quite understand the way they treated their women. Let me give you an example. When I grew up in the 50s, this is how we thought boys did their thinking, straight as an arrow. And this is how we thought girls did their thinking. It was all over the place. But down through the years, I came to understand that we put a lot of roadblocks in the advancement of women. And boy, if the Islamic people would just understand that not letting your women get ahead in life, you're losing 50% or more of your resources. So I'm glad that after 144 years, in 1920, we passed the 19th Amendment. I think we're getting better with the women, and I think it's reflected in our movies. In 1977, A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie, featured Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and as a sort of secondary role, Princess Leia. But if you watch the trilogy from 2015, 17, and 19, Rey was the star of that trilogy. Women have come a long way. And of course, all I have to do is look at the entertainment world to see three giants in the entertainment world. Not only are they excellent performers, but they're business women that know how to run a music business. And I believe Taylor Swift is a billionaire now. And I don't just, say something and not practice it. Whenever there was an opening on council, I asked the best person to run. Turns out that of the 7 council people, 6 of them are women. After leaving Turkey, we traveled through many countries of Europe, and the one thing I took away with is everywhere we went, Italy, Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, England, France, they were so much appreciative of the investment the United States made in their fledgling democracies, whether it was giving them financial aid or in support of such organizations like the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Very appreciative. And of course, you heard it in the film today, the words of John F. Kennedy. This is what I took away from my visit to Europe. They expected this of us. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty. And the other thing I learned about my service in Turkey, we were in the United States Army, but it was the Army Security Agency. We were under the operational control of civilians in the National Security Agency. These were government people who spent their lives learning how to do the trade of collecting surveillance. And they became experts at it. They did their job. They weren't political hacks. And of course, my next tour was to go to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, where I learned how to become a traffic analyst. That meant electronic traffic. I would be able to start analyzing it. I had modern barracks, but I had my own room, as a matter of fact, by this time. And the design really indicated what our mission was. The head of the Sphinx represented wisdom and silence, because we weren't supposed to talk about what we were doing. I had to sign an agreement that when I got out of the service in 1969, I could not talk about what I did for 10 years. And of course, the lion is the king of the jungle, and he's clutching the bolts, which meant we were collecting the intelligence. Now, let me give you an example of exactly what a traffic analyst would do. You're looking at this picture and it says, why is dentistry so important? Because even though he's missing an eyebrow, the first thing you notice is his smile. That's what I was trained to do, to take that intelligence that was being collected and to go through it and to see what was relevant and what was not. So my logic and my philosophy courses in the college really helped me. So we were still in the Cold War, the United States versus the Soviet Union and its countries, democracy versus communism, and the collection of intelligence was my job. And we still had the split between the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. And where I was stationed now was in West Germany. West Germany as opposed to East Germany. I was stationed in a little town called Rotwesten, right here on the East German border. This is where we were housed. It was very comfortable. I had my own room again. And of course, this was my room. You'll notice I had a stereo because we had vinyl records in those days. This is what we faced between the West German and East German border. This is a picture I took. It was defined by high metal fences or walls, barbed wire, watchtowers with heavily armed soldiers, alarms, anti-vehicle ditches, booby traps, minefields, bunkers, dog runs, floodlit control strips, tripwires, activated flares to pin anyone trying to escape from the east, and they would be shot, or shot at least. Very few made it. And there were signs telling us, don't go near the border. And that's what it looked like. And I want to have your attention on the post. I did sneak in a little closer and got a picture of what it said. It said German Democratic Republic, which was not true. They were not democratic, and they were not a republic. And we did have checkpoints where people could visit from the west to the east. You had to have papers, and of course, they were manned by Russian soldiers. So what did I learn? Living in two different worlds over there is Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, which I studied in college, but gave me new meaning when I saw the people of the Eastern Bloc of the Iron Curtain. We here highly resolve that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. And this was my master's degree of arts that I got on the GI Bill, because the government should take care of their GIs. They took a long time to recognize Agent Orange effects for our Vietnam veterans, and I still don't think they have it completely right. But they're doing a lot better job of, especially with the PTSD. And of course, I know times are changing. because this was golf in the 50s and golf today. And of course, it's the dawn of a new age. As a mayor, I'm allowed to perform marriages. So this has changed somewhat too. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may now update your Facebook status. And of course, things change. We have a new Barbie and Ken. But why does it have to be them versus us? Why can't we all be together? We the people, boy, does that have a lot of meaning in order to form a more perfect union. You could have, Superman meeting Captain America. And better yet, there are still things from the past that are still relevant today and have still value. Tony Bennett was a crooner from the 40s and 50s and even into the present day. And his most famous work was I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And he did, in 2014, he did a duet album with Lady Gaga. And again, they repeated it in 2021. Those people in the band, please listen to the music that these two people introduced. Unfortunately, Tony Bennett has passed away, but we could still have that past with the present, because I'm volunteering to be in a duet with Lady Gaga. And of course, they did turn back the clocks, because right now, one of the leading albums that was introduced in October was from the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, they did one of the songs there, Sweet Heaven with Lady Gaga. How about that? And Mick Jagger is 80 years old. Keith Richards, his guitarist, is 79 years old. So you still can use the past into the present. And of course, the Beatles, Now and Then, was just introduced in November, and they had a cassette from John Lennon's voice. They tried to do it in the 90s, George Harrison, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr, and they didn't have the technology until the present day. They used artificial intelligence to bring back Lennon's voice, Harrison's guitar, and Ringo and Paul made a couple more additions to it. Ringo is 83 years old, and Paul McCartney is 80 years old. So we can still have the past with the present. And I always carry the past with me. We still have our Memorial Day parade, and I remember that first oath I took. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout Law. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. And of course, from the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Camp St. Andrew back in the 1950s, I still play taps. I'm honored to play taps for my fallen fellow veterans whenever there's a military funeral. So I want to thank my fellow veterans for their service. I want to thank Mrs. Vigil, Mr. Trotter, and the administration, the faculty for having me, and of course the students of Forest City for being so generous and listening to the meanderings of an old man. All I have to say is, Balshoya Spasiba and Das Vidanya.
Mr. Chalk, you could actually stay up here. Thank you, Mr. Chelik. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present you with this.
Thank you.
The Forest City Chamber Choir, under the direction of Mrs. Allison Simon, will now perform in Flanders Field.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. To support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And to bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. That I will obey. The orders of. The President of the United States. And the orders of. Those officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I, the armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The timing of this holiday is quite deliberate in terms of historical fact. But somehow it always seems quite fitting to me that this day comes deep in autumn, when the colors are muted and the days seem to invite contemplation. It is, in a way, an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise, but most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. In memory of those who gave the last full measure of devotion, may our efforts to achieve lasting peace gain strength. Let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and borne by their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
And now, some closing remarks from our high school principal, Dr. Cassandra Stout.
Good afternoon, Foresters, faculty, staff, and above all, veterans. It is an honor to be here with you today and to express my sincerest thanks for your service. Foresters, as our Veterans Day program comes to an end, let us take a moment to reflect on the profound significance of the sacrifices made by the countless brave men and women in the service of our nation. Today, we stand in the shadow of their sacrifices, humbled by the courage that has shaped the course of history. At this time, I would like to give a special thanks to those veterans who play a role in your lives each day within our school community. Please stand when I call your name. Second Lieutenant Louis Safran, United States Army. Mr. Zafran, you are and always will be a beloved member of our Forester family. Airman First Class Denise Kowalik, United States Air Force. Gunnery Sergeant Paul McCormick, United States Marines. Captain Fred Bresser, United States Army Military Intelligence. Lance Corporal John Foley, Chief of the Forest City Police Department, United States Marines. And a very special thank you to Forest City Regional High School students Mitchell Alexander and Matthew Reed for answering the call to service. It is with heartfelt appreciation that I thank you for your personal sacrifice and our great nation's freedom. The stories that we've heard today are not just tales of heroism. They're a living testament to the enduring spirit of duty, honor, and sacrifice. Our veterans have faced challenges with resilience, and their commitment to preserving our freedom is a light that will guide us forward. As you leave the program today, may you each carry with you a renewed sense of responsibility to honor their legacy by living lives of purpose, compassion, and service. Let the dedication of our veterans inspire each of you to be active participants in building a future worthy of their legacy. In your daily lives, you should strive to embody the values they fought to protect: unity, liberty, and the pursuit of a better world. May you always remember that freedom isn't free, and that the liberties we all enjoy today are a result of the sacrifices made by those who served in uniform. Let us each express our gratitude, not just in words, but through our actions, by uniting to foster a community of respect, understanding, and appreciation for the diverse experiences that make our nation strong. Within our school community, each of you plays a vital role in shaping a future that upholds the ideals that these veterans have fought courageously to protect. Let their determination be a shining example, inspiring each of you to stand tall in the face of challenges and to work towards a world characterized by peace, unity, and understanding, ensuring that the sacrifices of our veterans are never forgotten and always celebrated. Thank you all for your attention today, and let this program be a reminder that the spirit of Veterans Day should resonate in your hearts every day. To our veterans, past, present, and future, we extend our deepest thanks.